Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Sunday Sketch, coming to you a little earlier than last time. But I don't have any other engagements today, previous engagements, as they say, right? Anyway, I thought I'd bring it back to one of my old designs. I've been redesigning this character for a while, and I've renamed him a few times and stuff like that. So this iteration of the character is called Archip, and I'm going to, or Arc for short, and I'm gonna be finishing up this with a turnaround. I've done some design work and development for him before. You can see that on my ArtStation, um, which is just artstation.com/Tierwolf, and you can see kind of how he's developed as a character, but I never did a full turnaround for him. I usually do like expressions and I like hero pose and everything like that, but I wanted to really get in here and do some more work on him. And also, I feel like I haven't really done a sketch in a while. I've been focusing on painting styles and stuff, and so I want to get back to basics to an extent. So first thing is I'm gonna go ahead and kill the excuse me, kill the lights on him. Take the crown and I'm just gonna really just take all the clothes off. When I built this, I managed it in layers so that I could do that. It's pretty handy. Hey Lely, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Um, so yeah, I built the layers so that I could move the clothes around or remove them to make sure that I got the anatomy all right, that kind of thing. Let's see if I actually got any of the sketch underneath him. I forget. So that's the sketch layer there. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. More like the breakdown stuff. So I did get that. That's good because I'm gonna need that. It's been a while since I've done this guy. Gonna need a little bit of that to build my turnaround. So I want this angle to be from behind, and he's got kind of broad shoulders, as you can see here and there. So I'm gonna come in and make sure that I get a nice pose from behind that's really going to capture his sort of like broad shoulder, big arm kind of thing. So I kind of want to get, I think, one of those over the shoulder types. And you do want to make sure that the rest of your anatomy lines up. Make sure he's, about the same height and everything, that kind of stuff. And when I was redesigning Archip from one of my older designs, it was very important to have this diamond shape. That was like one of his key uh, design features was this diamond shape, and I stretched it and I squashed it and I tried to get different versions of it really um, to make sense. But in the end, it was really just coming back to this diamond shape. And he's also got very long arms. Because you see he's got arm from here to here, which would come into about there. So we need to make sure his elbows and his arms stay really congruent with the rest of the piece. So there, and then his big hands. So I guess his arms aren't that long in comparison to his torso, but they definitely are in comparison to like his legs. And then he's got the thighs, probably need to come out. Give him a butt. I don't know. He doesn't need a butt right now. I'll do the butt later. And then he's got those horse sort of feet. Although really I designed his the actual hooves more after like deer than horses. I wanted him to look like he could be nimble if he needed to be. You know what I mean? So we're gonna fade that out, and now that we got kind of a rough idea of what he's gonna look, let's give him a pose, right? So we're actually gonna turn this shoulder in just a little bit. I'm gonna put his sort of it's called the line of action, but since it's a static pose, he's not actually gonna have all that much action. So what I gotta do is I gotta figure out where the emphasis is in shape and line and everything like that. And so that's actually going to end up being probably his shoulder line, because that's one of his main, because of his big hands, one of his main like throughput sort of lines is going to be that line from the shoulder, coming off the shoulder, right? But I got to make sure, let's see, that's more of a 3/4 angle on the shoulder, I think. I don't want to bring him that far, but he does need to have a slight turn. So let's focus on the torso, do his spine, right? Because he does need a slight turn so that he can have his head, so that he can like look at you out of the corner of his eye, you know, like some kind of, you know, like action hero pose, right? So then his back will be kind of like this. Love me some undo buttons. Because that's kind of, this is going to be kind of where his ribs go, but we're not going to actually have that in there. Right, and then the buttocks. Now we'll give him a butt. And his butt is actually going to be a little more squared off to the camera, rather than his torso, right? Because he's got this curve in his spine, so when you actually reach here, it's going to be pretty straight on, looking straight at us. Then build the legs up from that, and the thighs, really, they're just these big old meat things. Especially from the back, there's not a ton of crazy shapes going on there. Really, the craziest part is kind of how his legs attach to them, and you really gotta kind of splay the legs out a little bit because of how like balance goes, right? So, and he's actually shifted his right shoulder back a little bit, which means we actually need to probably shift the right leg forward slightly, which means we're going to bring this up here. And this leg's going to be out here more, right? Right. So there we've got the nice twist in the back, and we've got his, hindquarters and everything. So next, gotta actually like build out the shoulder a little bit, and the arms, right? So there's his elbow. You gotta kind of build the bicep out a little bit. And then he's got these, I'll show you in this sketch. There we go. He's got the big old meaty Popeye arms, really. And again, his arms are real long in comparison to his legs, but maybe not quite that long. Because let's see, if that's his elbow there, he's tilted a little bit here. So if that's his elbow there, then his arm's gonna come out to like there. Yeah, that's about right. When you're that was one of the things that I had to choose in the design pretty early on, is like where I wanted the emphasis on him, because I wanted him to be a lot more stylized. And so that diamond shape was like the first thing to happen, and then from that diamond shape came just these kind of it became counterbalanced because it became really top heavy, and I just gave him these big old chunky arms. And I really liked the idea of him having a little bit of quadrupedal movement in there as well. Kind of a gorilla, really. So he's part gorilla, part horse, and well, or deer with the deer foot there, and all alien, obviously, but I gave him some fun features, or some features that I thought were fun anyway. And a little weird. Right? Because, like, what's the point of being an alien if you're not a little weird? Let's see. I need to pick a hand pose for him here, so I'm thinking with his hand dropped here, I'm thinking we just do a fist. And so I'm just gonna do a fist. Kind of just balled up there. And then with the thumb kind of there. Like that. And he's got a big meaty like 3-fingered hand too. So just a fist. I always get it mixed up. Sometimes I draw the thumb on the wrong side of the hand, so I got to make sure. I'm like, is this like if I were standing there? Yeah, the thumb would be in the front like that, and then facing backward. But I think I put it a little bit too high up on the hand. I think the thumb needs to actually come up here, like that. And there we go. And then let's build this one up. Now his arm over here is actually brought in a little closer to the body, but we do want to make sure it has roughly the same, well, gotta have the same shape, but you know, gotta make sure that it has roughly like the appropriate length and stuff for what we did to the other side. So we got his elbow there. And we're gonna basically do the same pose, I think. Or the same gesture. Maybe actually bring, I'm thinking maybe to get a better, like a smoother line here, I'm gonna actually have him curl his fists inward a little bit. So more like that. And then it'll be there. And he'll have his fist curled inward like that. I'll work out some of the kinks here as I go. This is really just a rough sketch to get an idea of what he's gonna look like. And then now he's got these ears, and if he's looking back at you, paying attention to you, then the ears are also going to be turned back towards you. Because that's kind of just what ears do. They're like little radar dishes, right? If you ever see a cat like turn their ears and not look at you, that's mostly because cats like have to turn their entire head to look around. And so sometimes they'll just scope things out with their ears and listen, take a good listen, right? And then he'll have, I think that's enough of a head turn to give space for like one like cheekbone and eye socket and stuff. So we can do the eye like that. And there you go. There's our pose, right? So now I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna fade that and fade that like so. I'm gonna take the same color I used for this one here on the left, and we're gonna go in and really get working on it. Now I did use a rough pencil brush for this, so now I gotta basically decide which lines stay and which lines go, right? And then one of the things that I liked doing on this was to give them like really thick outlines, really like cartoony, right? So, and he's got kind of, his eyes almost look angry by themselves, like no matter what sort of position they're in, just because of their shape. we do want to make sure that we're giving the appropriate amount of visibility to that pupil. And again, he's got big ears. Pretty big. Like, probably if I compared them to an animal, they'd probably be close to a horse. Closer than most other things, anyway. And so that's part of him just looking back at you is having those ears turned back. I like to square off the elbow on, make the elbow look square on like stronger characters. Just makes them look, that much stronger. I think the square shapes, um, you make them too like soft and round, and it just ends up looking a little wrong. And again, just big old Popeye arms. Now he's gonna have his arm turned a bit, so I gotta make sure that I try and get that like angle done correctly. Because really what ends up happening is from the back, if you have your arm like straightened out, there's basically like a contour from like here to, I want to say from like here to here. And then your wrist ends up being right in here, so just want to make sure that I get that done properly, right? And then said I wanted to have the fist curve or curl inward. It's a little big even for him. Alright, big old meaty hands established. Actually don't like that. It doesn't look quite right. I think I need to, let's see. So that's that part, which means that the finger kind of scrunches up there. Okay, so I just needed to make it a little longer, I think is what it needed. turn the fist a little bit more. Somewhere like that. And there we go. That looks good. That looks good to me. And then when we like thicken the lines, I like to thicken the lines afterward, after you've like established all the things, you know? And you can, it helps kind of decide which things to keep. And which things not to keep. And again, he's not human, but he very much is humanoid, right? So he does share some features. But like he technically doesn't have to have a butt or anything. It's just definitely easier to draw a humanoid if you have frame of references to certain like body parts and stuff. Don't know why that's stuck in my head now. And then let's see his actually, you know what? I think I made his torso a little bit long. I mean, I know he's got like a squish sort of thing going on, but cause like from here to here, and he's got his Let me give me just a second. I gotta kind of examine this a little more closely, because his pelvis is like here basically, or his hips, right here, here, bam, hips. His shoulders here, and this one's kind of raised, so he's got kind of this thing going on. Okay, but he's got hip here, bam. Shoulder here, shoulder there, bam. Yeah, I do think this torso is a bit longer than it needs to be. I need to take the whole thing up a bit. Which means what? Which means we kind of squash this shape a little bit. Yeah. Just bring everything up slightly. Nope. Hips are still too low. Because that's where the leg attaches, so then the leg's going to be like there and there, which means his butt needs to be like, I don't know, I guess it's about the right place. Okay, that's not too bad. Not as bad as I thought it was. I was just looking at them and I'm like, I don't think these line up. Alright. And then, let's see. This leg actually attaches up here, looks like. And then he's got these little, like, dew claw things. Like I said, his foot design is actually more like a deer than a horse. So he's gonna have these little back claw things before you actually reach the, because like his ankle's gonna be there, and then his foot's gonna be like here, and then part of that's just gonna be hoof. So really it ends up looking a lot like a straight line. And in a lot of ways, I guess it kind of is. we go. And then this, of course, is his other hand. And we're just gonna, like, approximate that one. You're allowed to get away with that to an extent, I think. So there he is from behind. And so then we'll go in and put on his costume. Really. So let's see. Want to make a new folder. And we're going to call this one Boots. Because that's where his boots go. And his boots really are just straps that fit. One fits under the, kind of around his ankle. And then another fits above, kind of around his calf. Or I guess, if you can call it a calf. And then they just end up being these like shin guards, basically. They really aren't anything too special, but they do go all the way up the leg, so I gotta make sure that these do go all the way up the leg and kind of around the side there. Because as you can see, he's got very narrow legs, so they need plenty of protection. So these are very sturdy sort of ankle braces, or leg braces, really. So those are the boots. And what I like to do is I like to go in and color color stuff on a different layer underneath, but I'm not gonna take the time to do that yet until I've established the rest of his costume. So that's how I end up doing that. So he's got these shorts, which are really just because I want to be able to present him to anybody. You know, aliens don't strictly need clothing, especially if it's not something their society does. But he's got these shorts, and they just fit on him like shorts. It's nothing too special or fancy. So that's the shorts folder. Oops. Shopperts. And then again, what I'll do is I'll go back in and color these things. Then we got his jacket. Now you may have noticed on him, I left these big loops on his jacket, and that's because the sleeves of his jacket actually unbutton all the way back there because of his giant Popeye arms. And also, he's got these buttons here, which actually do attach to the shorts. kind of. There are like little mini suspender things in the shorts, design-wise, is what they would be. So there would be like these little loop things in the shorts, and then those buttons are where the loop things would like hook into the jacket. It made sense at the time, and it helped keep the shape, this like open square shape. It was really just to make, or rectangle shape. It was really just to help that make sense, because otherwise, why wouldn't you have buttons along the rest of the jacket or anything like that? So this is the jacket, and the jacket is like the single most important part of his costume. It really is. So I'm going to start with the sleeves. He's got the rolled sleeves, right? And then the jacket comes up to here. And I'm going to hide him real quick because the jacket also has, again, the loops. And that's again because his jacket like actually splits open so that he can put the whole sleeve on that way, and it's styled very specifically for him. And it's also important for the jacket to kind of give him a little bit squarer shoulders from the looks of things, right? Like anatomically, he's going to have rounded kind of shoulders, but it's important to get more square. And then he's got this big collar. And then you're not going to get as many of the same like creases and seams and things on the jacket as you would see on his jacket's not going to show you like where his shoulder blades are necessarily underneath the fabric, right? So that's another thing to take into account, consideration. So next I got to figure out how so we've got the jacket arm, and this is gonna attach kind of about there. So maybe make his sleeve a little bit wider at the top. And then I like to make my folds kind of square-ish on a lot of my, really a lot of my projects. So that's one thing kind of about me, is when I do folds, when I do creases and stuff like that, I like to do like an L shape. And this part, because he's turning, it's actually going to have a longer, like deeper crease in there because he's turned that way a little bit. So that's the jacket by itself, basically. From behind. So there is one thing I want to embellish, like a pattern on here, but I think I'll get into that once we get into the coloring of everything, because I don't think I want to have it drawn on. I think I want to have like just a pattern on it, right? But I do want to have this piece. Which is a piece you get on a lot of like coats with tails. They'll have some stitching or a like a little decorative clasp thing to hold it together there. And there you go. Jacket, shorts, boots. I think the only thing left to do is the crown. He does have a crown. He's not royalty or anything, but when I initially did the character, he was a sort of a unicorn character. And so I wanted to, when I went in to redesign him, I wanted to still have something kind of on his head to help break up. And he doesn't have a mane or a tail or any of the horse features there anymore. So I wanted to make sure that I gave him something to sort of break up his face a little bit. So that's why I gave him. I wonder why the stream looks fuzzy to me. Does it look fuzzy to you guys? You know, I look up every so often to like check the chat and everything, but I haven't actually looked up to see. Okay, I just reloaded the page. Okay, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as I thought. I was like, it looks fuzzy now. Cause like when I started it, I was like, oh, it's fine. But then all of a sudden, it wasn't. Anyway, crown, and I had it also line up with his cheekbones, or not his cheekbones, but his jawline. Sorry. I had the crown line up with his jawline um, as well because I don't know, it looked good. Giving him just the one sort of piece there didn't look right to me. So I also had a piece line up with his jaw. So really, that's all that the crown is going to look like from the back. And there you have it. That is going to be the back shot for this character in the turnaround. And we're gonna start coloring him in, maybe? I don't know. I don't have a ton of time left. I might leave that for later. Because what needs to happen next, of course, is not that. Definitely not that. Take those away. There we go. Leave that sketch part. Then the colors and the... Wait, why do I have two color layers that are basically the same color? That's weird. I'm gonna get rid of one. Oh, because that's a copy. Why is that a copy? Who knows? But basically, the next step is to color him in. You know what? I got some time left. I'll break it. I'll break at lunch. I'm gonna keep coloring this guy, and then I get to do lighting and stuff, which is always fun. That's like my favorite part. Okay, so let's get rid of his clothes. And that way we can kind of tell what the patterning looks like. You know what? It kind of occurs to me, I gave him almost like a Doberman sort of coloring, which strikes me as a little funny. I mean, not the actual color, but like the pattern, how they have, you know, how they have like that diamond on their chest, that kind of thing. And I know this may seem like a really dark color to you guys from here, um, but if you watch when I go in and I light the thing and I'm like, bam, let's turn on the daylight colors, right? He actually ends up looking a little gray. Oh, that's night. So it ends up looking actually once you put it in some lighting, it ends up looking pretty good. And after that, it just becomes finishing touches, really. Um, Thickening some of the outlines, like I like to do for this characters from this universe. I think I'm in a style that I like. Um, I'm not quite ready to like start my comic book yet. There's still some sort of plot things that I need to get sorted out, and some other characters I have to design for it. But it's coming along. I think the biggest hurdle that I've been having is just like figuring out what story I actually want to tell. Because I don't really have like a beginning. I just have it's really a setting that I could tell a bunch of stories in that involve this guy, that involve a couple other characters I've drawn. Um, and they're really just a backdrop to tell a story. And I've done a lot of world building, but not a lot of actual story writing, so I'm not really sure what the story is yet, if that makes sense. But I do enjoy designing the characters and building the world out. Um, that has been fun. And another layer for the. Oop. So yeah, and again, it does look like he's very like dark purple colored or whatever, but it ends up being very muted and very much more to me what I imagine like a skin tone for this guy to look like. His inner thighs have some of this color. And I think I'll clean up the line work a little bit before I finish the piece out too. Because I do still have some of that sketchy quality in there. And then we're going to make the sort of inner part there. And then his palm is also that color. And from the looks of this design, it actually goes down the wrist somewhat. Okay. I don't think I want to give him any sort of skin tone, like, or sorry, patterns, I should say, across along his back. I think I'm gonna keep his back pretty basic, although I might give him a tattoo later. Haven't decided yet. And then, of course, we can't really see enough of his eye to justify giving that, you know, the color treatment and everything. So that's colored in. Next we get the boots. And the boots are going to be a little tricky because I'm actually going to have to add his little dew claw things back in. Gotta make sure I get the right color first. Oh. And also make a new layer to put the color on so that I don't ruin my line work. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in with my pencil, grab my dark, like purpley gray color, and I'm just going to sort of fix the line work up, really. Except that's not quite the right color now, is it? It doesn't look right at all. Huh. No, that is correct. Weird. It interacts with the color weird, strangely. Actually, like looking at it closely. But I guess if we look over here, it kind of has the same value. Yeah, that's the same thing over there as well, which is strange. These colors don't look particularly great together, I feel like. But they are black shin guard things, so you know. They gotta be like black shin guard things. Oh, that's the wrong thing. There we go. I'm still on marker. Gotta go back to my rough pencil. Okay. So there are those. The shorts are gonna have the same issue because they are the same color. Oh, not that color. This color. And I'm not doing too many lines on the shorts because I can handle a lot of the shaping with lighting basically, because I can like light the top of his butt cheek and the bottom of his butt cheek and give it shape that way instead of like drawing it in. You see. So that's pretty much how those are gonna look. Let me make sure that they look about right with his shorts. Okay, so they do need an extra line across the sort of cuff area. That doesn't look like the right color. Is it indeed just a trick of my eye? I guess. Okay. So that's the shorts. Next we have the jacket, and actually compartmentalizing the things like this makes it pretty easy to get your colors and stuff correct and have good reference for it. So that's nice. And I can have the shorts layer separate so that I can match the shorts to other outfits, which I have done, without having to redraw the entire outfit. So like I can just redraw the shorts or redraw the top part of the costume and still keep those shorts as like a base. And I don't know why I chose this color for the jacket. I feel like it just went with his body color nicely, and it made him look friendlier. Because one of the issues that I was having was that he ended up looking pretty mean. Like you can see it in the face, right? He looks like he could have a really angry sort of if you ever made him mad, he'd have a really nasty face. But he's not really his face because he's an alien with so many animal parts kind of amalgamated into his design. His face isn't really good for emoting, I feel like. He does make, I definitely have a range of expressions designed for him, but it was a big challenge designing expressions for him. That sounds a little silly to say, but you do really have to design every piece of a character. Also, I made sure his color is not quite white, so that when it lights, it because lighting works that way. When it lights, you can, or when you put light on it, it will look white. But if I made it, if I did make it strictly white, the lighting doesn't really show on it. Without doing like a separate lighting pass just for the color. So to light it all together requires them to be lit, or them to the white not to be strictly white. And then here I'm gonna put in some folds, just some kind of quick and dirty folds to give you the idea that this is the cuff and that it's kind of rolled up, right? Not too many lines on that because they're not really like crinkling or creasing. And yeah, that one doesn't really need it. And there you go. Last bit is the crown. Now the crown's color I also want to use for the clasp on the jacket. So I'm going to do one more color layer on the jacket. Make sure I get that nice gold color. And we're going to just throw it right in here. Bam, done. So that when we come up here, add a new layer and color the crown, that color is also reflected in the jacket. And then I just got to touch up the line work on the crown as well. So that it doesn't disagree with anything in particular. There you go. That looks like the same guy, right? I think the head could probably use a little work if I were to be honest. I think his head might be wider than I drew it there. But everything else I think looks pretty okay. Man, he really does have long arms though. Okay, so the next, really the next objective of this piece would be to thicken up the lines and light the whole thing. So I'm gonna actually take his clothes away again. So there. And also his clothes on this side. And I'm just gonna come in and really fix some of the line work issues that I see. And part of that can be done just by making the lines thicker on the outside, which is what I'm going to do anyway. See, I can cover up some of that sketchy part just by making the lines thicker. That's not the only reason I like this thickening up the lines, but it definitely is a reason why I like it. Gotta make sure I don't go too crazy with the line weight though. Like I think this inner leg part could stand to be a little thinner line-wise. But I gotta kind of try and blend it with the thicker line from the top. Oop, that's not, those aren't the lines I want. And yeah, see, that's definitely helping clear up some of the definition issues I was having before. Just by fixing up some of the line. You can also kind of, like if I do this, it kind of changes a little bit of the shape of a thing too, which is kind of interesting. You can do a lot of things just with line weight and kind of manipulating it. And then I am thickening the lines around the head, but relative to the rest of it, because there are more delicate features in the face, generally, I'm still going to be keeping it fairly thin. I'm sorry, I'm a little sneezy today. You know what it is? I don't think I've taken my allergy meds today. Okay, so next we gotta do the same thing on these guys. And really this is just going around the edges, thickening up the line work a little. And making sure everything is nice and congruous with the rest of the piece. What's going on there? That doesn't look right. that's what I get for using the color picker so many times. Yeah, like, oh man, that looks so bad. Let me see if I can't fix that. Let's see. Let's actually make the background go away too. See if we can't get like the purest version of this color. There we go. That's much better. No, it's not much better. Why are you doing that? I'm so confused right now. I definitely thought I had the right color. Oh man. I'm gonna have to figure out a fix for this color problem. For sure. Okay, there we go. I should throw together like an actual palette so that I can be like, pull this color. That kind of thing. Oh, you know what? I think I have one, actually. It's gotta be on here somewhere. Color swatches. Ah, yeah, there we go. I knew I had one somewhere. Cool. I should have been using that from the beginning. Oh man, that's embarrassing. That's alright. It's alright. You know what? Mistakes were made. You live, you learn. It's all a thing. Okay, now I just gotta thicken up these lines as well. And again, we can add a little bit of shape and definition to this just by modifying the line weight, shape, and placement. Thinking it up also adds a little bit of depth to it, I feel like. Man, you know what? I felt like I had lost my mojo for a little while there, you know? Really, really did. This has been nice. Working on one of my characters again. I think I definitely needed this. One thing that I just noticed is, where's that color? There it is. This little bit here needs to go away. Boop. Come on. There we go. And turn those colors on. And last but not least is the crown. And there we go. What is it? What is this? What is going on here? Why is there... Haha, I turned on the wrong layer. That's what it was. Okay. Let's turn off the color swatches for now. Bam. There we go. Put his clothes back on. Ooh. And that looks like the same guy, yeah? Mostly, more or less. Next thing is to light it, but before I do that, I do want to get that jacket pattern I was talking about done. And you see the hole in his sleeve. See, I got that going on there. Let's turn the background back on because I like it. I like the sort of purpley blue-gray better than before. And then I think once I get that pattern on, I'll call it done for that now. So the pattern is just going to be a color layer. And I think what I want on it is some sort of like symbol of like happiness or like um, something that, you know, like love or happiness or something like that. So I think I'm going to put a heart on it. But I got to make sure that I get the pattern that I put on it to be really like specific to him, but also make sure that I get it measured out and, you know, making sure it looks good. So we're going to take this, we're going to do edit, we're going to duplicate this layer, then we're going to flip it. And just move it over. Until I get a heart shape that I'm satisfied with. Merge layer below. And then come in here and fix this up. Probably do a merge and flip again. To make it all look, you know, the same. But I think what I want to do, here's what I think I want to do. I want to take that heart shape, come in here, Gonna do like a, let's see, like a circle here, and then like, see what I mean? Like do something kind of neat. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do like, let's take a darker pencil so it gets a thicker line, you know, nice straight thick line. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna come in here, we're gonna do like that. Hmm. I don't know. That doesn't really look like anything to me. Maybe I'll just try doing like an ornate sort of heart thing, you know, get that nice curly deal going on there. And then like do a diamond shape in the middle. That looks good. Okay, then take this, do that same duplicate and flip thing. Oh, oops, that was a vertical flip. Edit, transform, flip. No, not vertical. Stop that. Edit, transform. Don't be dummy. Flip horizontal. There we go. That's what we want. Like there. Then merge with layer below. And then really what I should be doing, if I thought this software could handle it, is turning this whole thing into like a vector based image, which I think Clip Studio can do, but I'm just not practiced at it. So I would have to practice at it. There we go, that looks nice. So then we're gonna duplicate this layer. And then this is gonna be right here. So we're gonna transform it, kind of blow it up. Because I want it to take up quite a bit of space. And then I'm gonna do a mesh transform. And this is gonna allow me to see, like, mess around with specific vertices and stuff. So I get to put the folds in. Make it observe contours and things like that. Right, so that's the plan. I'm going to try and have these lines follow what essentially would be the three-dimensional curve of his back. But I got to figure out where his spine is. So his spine, or at least where the shirt kind of like follows the spine, I think it's going to be on this one. Like that. So then I really just got to make this follow that contour. Like that. And then of course come in and, kind of redraw over the top of it. Because that transformation made it look pretty grainy. Or pretty stretched out and faded out and stuff. So here we go. This part is kind of the long, boring detail part, so you can go ahead and crank your own music if you want to. I won't mind. But I don't really have anything more to say on this heart pattern other than I have to actually take the time and like pen it all in. Although I will say, once I'm done, this one's definitely going up on the ArtStation. It's part of the same project, so I'll be able to update that. There you have it. Breaks up some of the line work, or some of the not the line work, but it breaks up some of the space on the back, which is really what it's there for. Also to kind of help again key you into like what kind of character he is. Whew, but that was a long session. It is lunchtime, my dudes, so I will see you next week for some gaming, and until then, thank you for joining me, and goodbye, friends.